My WWE Night of Champions 2010 pay-per-view review. Pay-per-view just went off there. And I gotta say, for this pay-per-view, it wasn't a great pay-per-view, but it wasn't a terrible pay-per-view. I would kind of put it in the middle. It was an average WWE pay-per-view. You saw some good stuff on here. The main event six-pack challenge match really got saved mainly due to the outcome of it, with Orton becoming the new WWE champion. That saved that match. And the stuff you saw in the match, for the most part, it wasn't a great main event, but it was, a solid main event, and Orton winning it really did save that. The match everyone was looking forward to, at least most fans in the internet wrestling community that were looking forward to, The Miz versus Daniel Bryan for the United States title, did not disappoint. That was easily the match of the night. And the IC title match was good as well, and Big Show's match with CM Punk was actually surprisingly good. And even the few matches on here that I would say, they weren't the greatest matches, and you kind of could probably say they were, subpar matches. You really didn't see anything that was, god-awful or terrible on this match. Even the women's match, even the women's match, there were some booking problems I had with it, but even the women's match wasn't even too bad. So I would say it was an average pay-per-view from WWE, and there was a few things I would recommend fans to check out, mainly the United States title match, and if you're a big Orton fan, you would want to see the main event just for Orton becoming the new WWE champion. But let me get into my review of Night of Champions. The first matchup was Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental Championship. The rules in this match were, if Dolph Ziggler, if he would have got DQ'd in this match, or he would got counted out in this match, he would have lost the IC Championship. And this match was going on pretty good. Good back and forth action. Enjoyed it. It was pretty much the same type of match you saw that they had back at the SummerSlam pay-per-view last month, but this time it actually had a winner to it, and it was pretty good. Good back-and-forth action, a good way to get the crowd into the show. These two have some pretty good chemistry. The end of the match comes when you see outside the ring, Vicky Guerrero's out there. She's about to slap Kofi Kingston, and Dolph Ziggler yells to her, "Do not do this, do not ruin this for me." Then after that, a little after that, he hits his zigzag finisher for the win to retain the IC Championship in a 3-star match. Pretty good way to start the pay-per-view. Then the next matchup was CM Punk versus The Big Show, and this was actually surprisingly a whole lot better than I was expecting. I was expecting this to be like one of the worst matches on here. It actually wasn't too bad. I'm not saying it was a great match, but for a match with CM Punk versus Big Show, it's a whole lot better than what you expect. There was some enjoyable stuff in this match. It wasn't too bad of a match, and it didn't go long. That was the one thing that was good about it as well. Big Show wins the match after his KO punch to CM Punk, so Big Show wins this match. I would give it 2 stars because it was fairly entertaining for what it was. Then the next matchup was The Miz versus Daniel Bryan for the United States title. This was a very good match, easily the match of the night. Good back and forth action, a lot of good counters. Just, Daniel Bryan, formerly Bryan Danielson, he did a lot of good stuff in this match. WWE is pretty much letting him go out there and perform almost completely to his fullest ability. I mean, holding back a little bit, but not too much. And him and The Miz had some good stuff in this match. Good counters from both of them. Just a fairly enjoyable match. And Daniel Bryan picks up the victory after The Miz taps out from the crossface submission move. And a 3.5-star match. Like I said, match of the night. And hopefully now, they got the title off of The Miz. Now they'll focus on Miz having the Money in the Bank. And then now with Daniel Bryan having the United States title, maybe they can actually, get some prestige into one of the mid-card titles, the United States title, and, gain some prestige in it, make him a fighting champion, have him have the title for a little bit, and, he could do a good job as far as United States champion, and I hope they go that route. Good match, like I said, match of the night. The next matchup was the Unification match for the Women's and Divas Championship with Michelle McCool versus Melina and the Lumberjill match. And that was kind of the one thing that did hurt the match. I kind of wish this would have just been a regular match without, the Divas out there playing the role of lumberjacks, and they call them Lumberjills in here. That kind of took away from the match for some parts in the match. The ending of the match with Layla getting involved made sense. Towards the end of the match, you saw Layla get in there. She came in there, attacked Melina from behind. They had a little scuffle. Then Melina was distracted. Then Michelle McCool came in there from out of nowhere. She hit a big boot to Melina to become the Unified Divas and Women's Champion. And I think most people saw this coming with Michelle McCool being the Unified Women's Champion. And, it was a pretty solid women's match. It wasn't a bad women's match, but some of the booking stuff kind of hurt it. It was kind of overbooked with some of the, all the divas out there, and that kind of took away from the match a little bit. If they weren't out there and stuff, even with the Layla interference, which I didn't have no problem with because that made a lot of sense, them having her get involved in the match with, Michelle McCool. And even for a women's match, it wasn't too bad. 1.5 stars. For the star rating, it might look like it sounds like a bad match, but I will say 1.5 stars, maybe 2 stars, but kind of give it 1.5 stars as some of the booking and I disliked a lot. Then the next match was Undertaker versus Kane for the World Heavyweight Championship in a no-holds-barred match. Now, this is going to be one of those matches I have a feeling some people are probably going to like a whole lot more than I did. I just couldn't really get into this match. I mean, this is a feud, and this is a match we've seen several times before. It's a feud that started almost 13 years ago, and WWE's, still trying to draw money with it nowadays in 2010. I just cannot get behind that, and it dragged on. It was, a very slow match. They did a lot of brawling outside the ring. They brawled all over the arena. But this is like one of those times I'll actually, I hate to, be one of those people that come out and criticize WWE's PG era, but in one of these types of matches, this is one of those times you kind of have to, because it's like, with this type of match, no holds barred, you would expect more brutality. And, Undertaker and Kane, they're supposed to hate each other so much, you kind of have to have blood involved. But, that's not going to happen with, the PG era. And it kind of picked up a little bit towards the end of the match. Kane wins the match after Undertaker tries to go for the tombstone. Kane reverses it into a tombstone, and Kane retains the championship. So it looks like what we're going to see is another match with these two at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. And most likely at that pay-per-view, I'm saying that Undertaker will become the new WWE, not WWE, but World Heavyweight Champion at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. They'll most likely have another match at that pay-per-view. For the match, I would give it, 1 3/4 stars. It wasn't a terrible match. Some of it was watchable. The main problem with it kind of dragged on. That was the main problem I had with that match. Then the next matchup was a match they just added at the last minute. This was a Tag Team Turmoil match, which is a gauntlet-style match for the Tag Team Championships, the Unified Tag Team Championships. And the first two teams in here, it was a 5-team Tag Team Turmoil match. First two teams taking on each other was the Hart Dynasty versus the Usos. So you started off with actually 2 legit tag teams. The Usos win. They eliminate the Hart Dynasty. They go on to take the next team. So the Hart Dynasty are out there. You're guaranteed new tag team champions, which was a bad move right there. Not that the Usos defeated them, but the main problem was the Hart Dynasty got completely buried. They were out of here first, and they shouldn't have done that. And say something else, they shouldn't have done this match coming up next, which was after this, the Usos, they eliminated the next team. They defeated the next team, which was Santino, Marella, and Kozlov. They eliminated them two. Then the next team was Mark Henry and Evan Bourne. So they kind of built up the Usos into having some credibility. And then they have Mark Henry and Evan Bourne come out there, two thrown together tag team. Even though I like Evan Bourne a lot, I don't want to see him team with Mark Henry. They come out there, pretty much defeat the Usos pretty quick. The stuff with Evan Bourne, the Usos, was pretty entertaining. And Evan Bourne hits his shooting star for the victory. And then the last two teams were Mark Henry and Evan Bourne versus Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. They went back and forth for a little bit, and Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre pick up the victory after Cody Rhodes hits the crossroads in this match. And about a 1 3/4 star match. It wasn't a bad match. Just the main problem I had with was, first you had the Hart Dynasty, one tag team I think WWE has done a terrible job of booking. They've made them look like complete jobbers. And even though we know for a long time WWE hasn't cared about the tag team titles, I was at least hoping maybe with, the Hart Dynasty, maybe with the Usos, maybe they would try to do something with the tag team division. But obviously with this match, we've seen they don't give two shits about that. Then the Usos, they defeat the Hart Dynasty, then they defeat the other team, which was Santino, Marella, and Kozlov. So they beat the first two teams, then they lose to Mark Henry and Evan Bourne. It would have been good to see if they would have built up, the Usos, a legit tag team, two teams that aren't, a tag team that's not thrown together. Would have been good to see them kind of go over this and make them the new tag team champions, but no, they just go with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, pretty much two singles guys that I guess right now WWE doesn't have much to do, so they're just making them a tag team. So those are the main problems I have with that match. It wasn't a terrible match. You saw some good stuff with it. It started off good with the Hart Dynasty and Usos. The stuff you saw with Evan Bourne and the Usos was pretty good. And, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre, they're both, pretty solid singles performers, and they don't need to be a tag team. I mean, why are they doing this? I mean, they're trying to build up Cody Rhodes with this whole dashing Cody Rhodes thing, and what, they just throw them together with Drew McIntyre? Does that pretty much show that WWE has given up with him as a singles performer. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Right now they're tag team champions. Then the main event was for the WWE Championship in the six-pack challenge elimination match with defending champion Sheamus versus John Cena versus Edge versus Chris Jericho versus Wade Barrett versus Randy Orton. And the first elimination was a very shocking elimination. Did not expect it to start off with this. First elimination was Chris Jericho was the first one eliminated in this match after an RKO from Randy Orton. So Orton eliminated Jericho. Then the next elimination came when Cena eliminated Edge. There's some good stuff in here with Edge and Cena and Orton and Cena as well. They really had probably the best stuff in this match. It was disappointing seeing Jericho get eliminated first because Jericho is like one of the best performers in this match. And it would have been great to see him go, a little longer in this match, especially after the first elimination. They took a while to have the next elimination. The first elimination came within like 5 minutes or less in the match. Then it took a little while, or at least it seemed like forever, until the next elimination when Cena eliminated Edge. Then after that, Barrett, he eliminated John Cena. The Nexus came out there. They came out there during that and kind of distracted John Cena, helped Wade Barrett eliminate Cena, so Cena gets eliminated by Wade Barrett. And then after that, Orton eliminates Barrett. So I think we can pretty much say right now, if you haven't already said it before, back at SummerSlam, and probably even some people said it even earlier than SummerSlam, that Wade Barrett's completely buried. Nexus don't mean shit anymore, and WWE completely killed them off. Right here, I didn't want Wade Barrett to become champion, but if you wanted to do this whole Nexus thing, you could at least have them go over at SummerSlam, or you could have maybe, sacrificed and maybe made Wade Barrett champion if you wanted to make these guys actually mean something. But I think most of us now, weren't saying it already about a month ago. I think anyone that's still thinking WWE, the whole Nexus thing means anything, I think you got your question answered tonight with this pay-per-view with Wade Barrett, getting eliminated in this match. And then the final two were Orton and Sheamus, and you're like, oh shit, is Sheamus just going to come in here, get the cheap victory, and retain the title? They made it seem like that. They did a pretty good job with that. He hits the bicycle kick on Randy Orton from behind. Then Orton kicks out of the bicycle kick after the two. Then he hits the RKO a little after that. They have a little back and forth action. And Orton becomes the new WWE champion, which was the best thing in this match. There was some good stuff in this match, but for the most part, the reason why I like this match, or at least enjoyed this match, was Orton going over. If Orton didn't go over, I probably would have completely hated the match, but Orton going over kind of saved it, and there was some pretty good stuff in there. Cena and Orton, they had some good stuff in here. Cena and Edge as well. Wade Barrett, okay in the match. Sheamus didn't do too much, and unfortunately Jericho, I would love to see him in this match for a long time, but he got eliminated the first person in this match. So I'm going to give the main event 3 stars because Orton went over. I like that. I think they did the smartest booking decision right there with Orton going over. And it's good that they didn't have Miz come out here and cash in his Money in the Bank. Orton's so over with the crowd. He hasn't been a champion in a while. It's good they, let him, come have a celebration after that. Very long celebration after the match with Orton. And it's good to see that, he's champion yet again in WWE and hasn't been champion in a while. Hopefully they have him as champion for a little while. He's very over with the crowd, so I think WWE did the smartest move by making him champion. So I give the main event 3 stars. And overall, the pay-per-view, I probably would give it, maybe a 6.75, maybe even a 7, because, Orton going over in the main event was pretty solid. It wasn't a great main event, but it was pretty decent. The Miz versus Daniel Bryan match was the match tonight, and a great match right there. The IC title match was good as well. And really, when you look at the other matches on the card, sure, some of them were subpar, some of them weren't the greatest matches, but they weren't like the god-awful matches that you were like, these matches are a pile of shit. They were at least most of the matches that you would kind of count in the category of, watchable, decent, subpar, not the greatest. They were at least watchable, and they didn't really hurt the whole overall card. And especially going into this pay-per-view, I don't think many people are expecting something great from this pay-per-view. So I think it delivered what it was. The main event with Cena, with Orton going over as champion and Daniel Bryan becoming the U.S. champion. I think that did enough right there. And the opening match, IC title match, was pretty good. And even Big Show and CM Punk was a whole lot better than I was expecting. So overall, like I said, give this pay-per-view about 6.75, maybe even a 7 out of 10. There's a few things I would recommend checking on this pay-per-view. If you're a huge fan of Orton, you're going to want to see the main event. And I think most fans are going to want to see the Miz versus Daniel Bryan match. Did not disappoint. It was a great match. easily the match of the night. And yeah, that's it for my WWE Night of Champions 2010 pay-per-view review. Peace.